Okay, so I
Yeah.
am here with Deborah Walker Richmond, veteran teacher of the Chicago Public School System. Miss Richmond, how long were you in education?
35 years.
Wow, that's that's a long time. And why teaching? How did you get in? What was the process?
Okay, so you're asking me what made me decide that I wanted to be a teacher? Okay,
Yes.
so when I really didn't know initially what I wanted to do because when I was a student at Lindblom Tech, I thought that I wanted to go into medicine. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. And all of my life, though, I was always an avid reader. So I started reading probably when I was maybe three or so. And then I would just read, read, read. So my mother, who knew I was not great with math or science, decided to have a hard talk with me and said, and I remember we were leaving Lindblom, and she said, Debbie, I really think you need to do something with reading. You read well, you write well. So it seems like you might want to go into English more than anything else. So I thought communications initially. So when I went to my school, and I don't want to talk so much, but when I ended up going to Livingstone College under the auspices of our AME Zion Church, I thought I wanted to get into communications, but they didn't have a communications department per se, like I wanted to do broadcasting. So I ended up doing English. And it turned out to be the right fit for me. And I went too far because what made me decide to really teach was because I had this kid who lived across the street from me who was not doing well in school, and his mom asked me to tutor him. And I think the kid may have been maybe in fifth grade or sixth grade, and they wanted to put him back. And I don't remember how Chicago Public Schools did that, but his mom asked me to tutor him, and the joy that I felt from seeing that kid get it. I was tutoring him in math as well as reading, and that felt really good to me. Along with what my mom said about me always being an avid reader and writer, blah blah blah. So that's how I ended up getting into teaching, and I did my student teaching in North Carolina.
Oh,
I hope I
cool.
didn't talk too much, but that's how it ended. That's how I got
No, you're
into that.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the goal of this is literally to get your experience. So you can't talk too much. I everything
Okay.
I welcome. All right. So
Okay.
when you began, what were the schools like? And I mean, like, what were the students like? What was administration like? Set the scene for me. How was it when you began?
Okay. So I did my student teaching in North Carolina,
Mhm.
and that was a different experience because um, it was a diverse community. As a matter of fact, most of the students at that time at I think it was called East Spencer, North Carolina. Those students, the majority of my class, they were white kids. And but when I came back home, I was in the urban area, so my students were black kids, and this is at Calumet. At that time, it was just come out Calumet High School, and how the students were, well, first of all, listen, I was 21, 22 years old,
Mhm.
and my students were 17, 18 years old. So that meant that we were very, very close in age. And I can remember the kids saying to me something like, you don't know what you're doing, but because I started in February. So I don't know whether you understand. That means if you aren't starting at the beginning of the year, you're already at a disadvantage. And the
Yes.
very fact that I was so young, and the kids they look as old as I look, or even more so. So I remember that kid walking up to me telling me, you don't know what you're doing. And at the time, LaDonna, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And it took my mother to say to me that you've been doing this forever. This is what you do. And her pouring that into me reminded me, yes, I do know what the heck I'm doing. And I got in there, and it was just on and popping from there. Now, what the administration was like at the time, my principal's name was Dr. Floyd Wyrick, And he was a very interesting individual. This was before the local school council came into being. So Dr. Wyrick just kind of ran roughshod over a lot a lot of the teachers. He was no nonsense, of course, but sometimes he didn't seem to be fair. He treated me very fair, though, because again, I'm a young teacher. He would come into my room, even if he thought I wasn't doing something right. He was kind of gentle with me, and I don't know whether it's because I was in the neighborhood already, and my brother attended Calumet, and therefore he knew a little bit about my family, and
Mhm.
so he was kind of gentle with me initially, but yeah, I don't know, but it wasn't smooth sailing for me at the beginning. Now, by the time I came back the next year, starting at the beginning of the year, it was different because I knew what I was doing, and I didn't take nothing from the kids, and they understood that by that time.
So when you started, um, did you have a teaching philosophy? And if you didn't, did you ever develop one?
Um, at the beginning, yes, my philosophy was that every student could learn and that I was to meet every kid where they were and try to bring them as far as I could possibly bring them. That was my philosophy. I knew that all kids needed was somebody who cared about them. That's how I felt, and I felt that way because hell, I was a student before myself, and I knew that the students, the teachers that I worked best with were those teachers who seemed to care about me, and so that's what I let my students see. As a matter of fact, even to this day, my kids, if they run across me, they know that I'm always talking about my babies because that's who they were to me.
Mhm.
Um, even the kids, and a lot of the children were. Now you remember this is an urban setting, so a lot of times I just I don't know. I just treated them like how I would treat my kids.
Mhm.
So the very fact that I didn't curse at my children at the time when I started teaching, I didn't have kids. But when I finally had kids, I didn't curse at my kids. I didn't curse at them. And I would tell them all the time, I don't curse at mine, so I ain't gonna curse at your mom's kids.
Mhm.
I don't take disrespect from mine, so I'm not taking disrespect from you. And that's just how I dealt with them. And I just loved on them. I loved on those kids, and they knew it, and they gave me whatever I wanted. They did the best that they could for me.
Mhm. How long did it take you to build that relationship with your students?
Okay, so um, it might have taken uh, at the beginning of the year. It would take, I would say, would take months. They had to get to know you when they walk into the classroom. They don't know who you are, especially at the beginning.
Mhm.
As years went on, of course, they know me by my reputation. So a lot of the kids used to say, when they first walked into my classroom, I would hear them outside the door saying things like, I can't stand that black bee. I would hear them outside my door saying those kinds of things before they walked in. And I didn't let that rock me at all because, I get it. They knew I expected a lot. I expected the best. Now, I didn't require from them those things I knew they couldn't give me. And how you gain that knowledge is you look at what they're giving you,
Mhm.
and you look at that, and you can tell how much you can push them, and you can tell whether they're giving you the best. Now, some if kids were lazy, I took nothing. I couldn't take garbage from kids who I knew could give more, but the kids who I knew were doing the best that they could, and as an instructor yourself, you know when the kid is giving you all that they can give. You
Yeah.
can feel it. You can feel when they're holding back or just being lazy. So so sometimes it took a minute for me to develop a relationship with them. And then sometimes I never developed a relationship with some of the kids because um I don't know, I don't think they and then when I say they, it's like one or two kids because I can remember this one kid that she was really smart, but she would give me work that was from someone else. And I knew it, because she wouldn't even be as, she would not take the time to even change the paper. She would give me somebody's yellowed um, work,
Wow.
so it's old, you know, and I couldn't take stuff like that. So she ended up not passing the class. So this kid, we never kind of felt each other. But when she came back for summer school, because she failed me during the school year, but when she came back for summer school, then we did develop a relationship. So she realized it wasn't that I was picking on her, it's just that I wasn't taking shorts from her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it took a minute. So that's your question. How long did it take to develop a relationship or to develop that rapport? Sometimes it took a little while to get it started, but then as the year went on, by the time, LaDonna, by the time my year ended with those kids, they wanted me for their next year. Can you hear? Uh-oh, I don't see me. But can you?
I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay.
All right.
Um, let's see. So, did you have a teaching style per se, or did you just kind of do whatever felt right?
Um, I, let's see. Did I have a team? I don't think. I think I did whatever. I I did not want to always be talking, so I really wanted the kids to do more of the talking. But I didn't develop that until later. I think my thing was just kind of old fashioned at the beginning.
Mhm.
I didn't want. I let the kids. Sometimes I let them lead the class, and I just wanted to kind of guide them alone. But that really came along later on in my teaching. So let's say when I was at Calumet,
Mhm.
I'm really bothered by this fact that I can't. Not, oh, there I am.
There you go.
So yeah, when I was at Calumet, and I was there for the first 20 years of instruction, and then Calumet closed. Um, so my style changed then because the school, see, Chicago Public Schools changed. I wish I can, this was during the time when they had the Renaissance 2010, I think. And what they did was they closed a lot of the schools that they considered failing schools, and they opened charter schools, and they sent the kids everywhere. So this is when the gangs and everything broke up because if Calumet was considered the school for the Stones, and we did see that there was stuff like that in the building. But when they closed those schools and those kids were sent everywhere, that really changed stuff. It changed everything as far as I'm concerned. And as a matter of fact, I ended up at Hyde Park, and Hyde Park was a whole different experience for me. And again, Chicago Public Schools had changed, so they started doing. This is when they were firing teachers and hiring them back. Um,
Now, why were they doing that? What was the purpose of that?
yeah, good question. Um, Prior to this time, Chicago Public Schools used to pay the teachers. They wouldn't just give the money to the schools. They would pay from the board. This is what I understand. And then what happened when they started just giving the schools a certain budget, those of us who have been working for a while may not have been able to work at different schools because we were kind of priced out, because they're no longer just paying from the board. They just gave the schools certain amounts of money. And a lot of us, like I had been teaching for 20 years, that meant that my salary would have been more than somebody who was just starting out. So I was fortunate to be able to work where I was. And when they started, this, they I wish I had really been thinking about this and know what exactly, so I could have gotten my mind right about what kind of questions you would ask me. But they, um, they did not have me sign, try to get my job back. The principal at that time, Mr. Trotter, liked my style. He would come into the classroom and he would use, I think it was called Danielson's framework, or
Mm-hmm. Familiar.
yeah. And he would go down that list, and the types of questions I was asking, the what I was requiring of the kids. He thought that I was doing a fantastic job. So he didn't ask that I reapply for my job, but other teachers did. And by this time, I was then working as I worked as an English teacher, sure, but at this time I was teaching the NYP. This is IB. So I had NYP kids. It's the middle years program as well as the IB kids. Hmm, I don't know, but I don't know why he did what he did, but I was grateful.
Yeah, that it didn't affect you too much.
It did not.
So how was was there a difference from like the students when you started at Calumet versus when you finished at Hyde Park? Was there a difference in the students? Was there a difference in the curriculum and the way
Yes,
schools were run? Talk to me
yes.
about that.
Okay. And then as I'm going on, kind of nudge me too about what you're asking me, because I know I seem to be getting really down in the weeds about some of this stuff. So yeah, it was a big difference. When I first started, um, if I gave the kids homework, let's say for instance, I had 30 kids in my classroom, and there were times I had as much as 35, 36 kids in the class. But if I gave the kids homework, 35, if it was 36 kids, 33 would turn in homework.
Mhm.
By the time I left Hyde Park, you almost didn't have to, you wouldn't give homework because the school already knew that kids wouldn't do homework, you
Mm,
know?
mm,
Then here's the other thing. We used to have books, and because I was an English teacher, of course, we had these big, thick books that were, um, it was like a complete, from, if I'm teaching American Lit, it would be from, um, it would, if I'm teaching American Lit, it would be from the very beginning, like for Columbus and Native American English and that kind of thing, all the way through. And they would give us these big books, and the kids would take their books home. They would read, they'd do their homework. At the end, kids were saying, "I'm not taking that book home." And I said, "Well, put the book in a book bag." And then my book bag isn't large enough for this book, so I'm not going to take it. And so at the end, we stopped even giving the kids books. What we would do instead is we would copy, or yeah, make digital copies of things, or just give it to the kids in Google Classroom, because we started using Google Classroom at this time. So no, the kids didn't have books. The kids didn't do homework. Whatever the kids didn't want to do, the the principal, the school board, everybody seemed like they didn't care if the kids did not do the work. As a matter of fact, LaDonna, and this seems so sad to say, but by the time when I first started teaching, the grade would have been from 94 to 100 as an A, and from 88 to 92 as a B, that kind of thing. By the time we end it now, it's 90 to 100 as an A. It's a 10-point
Mhm.
span. And then after that, by the time I left Calumet, I mean, not Calumet, but at Hyde Park, we had gone to numbers 1 through 5. And we were no longer, we were teaching by the, wait a minute, I'm going to tell you what it is. We were using standards.
Mhm.
Okay. So if the standard is that the student should be able to cite, be able to write a paper and then cite sources, they should be able to analyze, they should be able to do this. And I mean, that's a good idea, by the way. And if the kid was able to do it, then they can get a certain score. And you would test that particular skill 3 times in order for the kid to be able to pass. And if the kid didn't pass, you still couldn't fail them. You just had to continue to test it until they did pass it. It it became, it was a lot of work for the teacher.
Mhm.
I don't know how much work it was for the kids.
Yeah. Did they seem to benefit from it, like from a realistic standpoint?
Uh, no, because okay, you had formative instruction and then you had summative.
Mhm.
And of course, the summative had to do with testing, the tests that the kids could take. But the formative was when you were practicing in the classroom. Now remember, you're practicing this formative, and at the end, the score was had it so that the kid knew that if they didn't do well as far as the formative was concerned, if you gave them, as a matter of fact, they start asking, is this formative or is it summative? And if it's formative, would be things that you would give them to prepare them for the summative. And that meant that maybe it wasn't as many points. And so they wouldn't really prepare. So I think what's missing, what happened is um, our administration must not have thought about what kind of students we have, because our students need um, reinforcement and they need instant gratification. And without you giving that to them, they felt that the work wasn't important.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kind of retired right at the right time.
Okay. Would you do it again in this school system? Would you go back?
Uh, no. Even right now, even when I'm doing, I substitute now from time to
Mhm.
time, and I like it because I feel comfortable, and of course, I still love kids. But it's just the very fact that so um, it's just the fact that there is no accountability
Mhm.
for the student. So to me, at this point, it's almost like um, setting the kids up for failure, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're not real interested in what you're putting out. They're not, and I know it has to do a lot with uh, what I mean as far as the cell phones and all this other stuff. And I think that took a lot, takes a lot of the kids' attention. What's important, though, that I did not mention is that at Hyde Park, they had the kids finally realizing how bad it was with the cell phones. They started putting the cell phones into a cell phone locker so the kids could not even bring the cell phone into the classroom. And that did make a difference.
Mhm.
Um, and that helped a lot. So, yeah.
Um, that's actually all the questions I have. Do you have any final words for me as a teacher in training?
Yeah, I feel badly that I said that I would not go back to it. I think that if I really want teachers like yourself to know that there is hope, I suppose. And the way I'm talking is almost as if I'm saying there is no hope, but there is hope. I had some really fabulous kids at the end, um, who did um, try to complete different things. I mean, whatever I asked them to do. So I guess that must be that. That means that there is some hope for the public school system. I just I don't want to discourage anybody because I think that was helpful is that because you are young, you guys are younger coming in, then that means that you have new approaches that you can take with these young people because you have to meet the kid exactly where that kid is.
Mhm.
So um, don't give up because we're all we have. You're
Mhm.
all they have.
Mhm.
And as long as you are willing to pour into that kid and not allow them to take shorts and be able to talk to the parent if that's necessary, because it always is to get the parent on board too, then I
Mhm.
think that we'll be okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. I'm going to stop recording now, okay?
Thank you.
Mhm.